Like we said, that breaking news coming from the White House. President Trump abruptly backing down on his tariffs on most nations for 90 days. A look now at the Dow, and you can see it's almost up 6% here, coming close to 40,000. We'll see if we close the bell there. But the president raising his tax rate on Chinese imports to 125%. A full-blown tariff war there with China. The stock market now surging with the news. We've got Chief Investment Officer at the Bahnsen Group, David Bahnsen, with the latest. David, thank you for joining us here. What happened here? Was this really the art of the deal, or was this just chaos that unfolded overnight? David, I think
both, and not just over several nights. I think that the president had a couple advisors that told him that financial markets would get a little volatile, but it wouldn't be too bad after his announcement last week. And he found out very quickly that financial markets were totally imploding, and the chaos of the last few days forced him to take this action today.
He yesterday was speaking to the Republican caucus and saying, listen, stick with me, stay with me. We're going to go for the long haul here. And then just hours later, it seemed about face on all this. I'm not an economist, but the savants say that overnight the Treasury bonds were being dumped by everyone, including Japan and China, meaning no confidence in the U.S. economy. The word recession was just about across the board on all the headlines. Was this what made that turnaround?
Well, I think it's a combination of the deterioration in our global ally relationships. The bond market is sort of a different story, but then obviously the stock market as well. I also believe that just the stories getting back to the White House of damage being done in the real economy, small business, decline in orders, that they were about to own a recession. And it still may be too late. There still may be enough of an impact of what has taken place already that you see some economic contraction. But when you're in a hole, the first thing you need to do is stop digging. What they're doing now, by the way, they're increasing tariffs to China, kind of throwing in the towel on these other things for 90 days. That's really what they should have done to begin with. Go cut your own deals with allies first, and then have a better position to go in the harder path with your adversary in China.
All right, so it seems as though the spin is these 70 countries, they agreed to negotiate. We are negotiating. We're going to keep the 10% baseline tariff on everybody from the EU, Canada, Mexico. China, like you say, very different picture here. A 125% tariff. Are we on a full-blown trade war now with China?
Absolutely, and trade wars don't end well, but it's also not going to continue. No one's going to trade. They have 84% tariffs that they put retaliatory on us, 125% we put on them. That's going to freeze all trade between the countries. And so people aren't going to be paying those tariffs. We're just not going to be trading, which means that they have to get both sides to the table and go work through it. But that's a more complicated process because it's not just about tariff rates. It's going to be about currency. It's going to be about technology. It's going to be about agriculture and energy orders. There's a lot of different parts there. That's going to be more complicated.
So in the immediacy, what does that mean for the average American right now? Because we obviously consume a ton of Chinese goods, everything from what's in the supermarket, just about everything. What does that mean for the average American?
Well, it does mean that certain prices are likely to go higher. It does mean that there will be some ambiguity for businesses in America that import goods from China. And of course, you know, even the issues with Europe and other countries that we're now pausing the tariffs on, he could put them back on as well. So you've increased the uncertainty for American business. So right now, I think you will see some. I don't think consumers are going to lay low. Consumers don't tend to do that in America. Americans love to spend money. It's the business side, small businesses that might have less hiring, less investment into future projects.
All right. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye. The president speaking right now from the White House on an unrelated topic, but he is being asked about tariffs, and we are seeing the Dow now up to 40,000 points. So clearly the stock market's reacting in real time here. Anything to read in the tea leaves as we're about an hour here from closing bell?
No, we can't do a 1 hour prediction. I don't know what the president's going to tweet in the next 5 minutes, let alone the next hour.
Very fair point. We appreciate, David, your analysis here on the DMV Zone.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's check in with topic number 2 and make things a more local approach as to what exactly this all means. Axios reporting that the D.C. small business community is scrambling now to navigate all these tariff changes. Axios reporter Mimi Montgomery joining us now. Mimi, we'll give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because I'm pretty sure you published this story before the breaking news about an hour ago, but still a lot of uncertainty on the table.
Yeah, exactly. As the guest before me was saying, who knows what's going to happen at any hour of the day these days. But yes, so I chatted with these folks before the news broke, but sort of, the main takeaway was uncertainty from a lot of these small businesses here in the district, right? And I have to imagine that that is still the name of the game, even after this news. There's been a 90-day pause, but who's to say what will happen the next day? And so a lot of the folks I talked with, they're locally owned businesses, locally made is a big sort of selling point for a lot of these spots, but they still get a lot of their supplies from overseas, right? You have a locally made candle, the tin might come from overseas, the cans for a drink might come from overseas. So it's going to affect a lot of businesses that make goods right here in the district.
And still relevant because I imagine that many of the people you spoke with do business with China. To your point, a lot of the instruments they use come from China, et cetera. And that seems to be where the crux of this has been from the beginning, really, is an issue with China. What are these business owners saying? Because like the previous guest, yes, the American person on average will feel it, but really it's the small businesses that will take the brunt of it.
Yes, exactly. So I spoke with the owner of one business called Princess Awesome, which is a local children's clothing group. And they manufacture all of their clothes overseas because it is so much cheaper, so much more streamlined and efficient for small businesses just to do that overseas. And they are really, really worried about getting impacted because of tariffs. They will have to increase their prices. And they're very aware that, with this uncertain economy right now, folks might not have the same amount of discretionary spending that they normally do. And they're probably going to only pay so much for a children's dress, right? So they've already had to increase some of the prices on their website with notes that it's due to the tariffs enacted by President Trump. And in some cases, they've seen the cost of manufacturing for clothes go up 33%, which is a big deal for a small business. So they're really worried.
Yeah, it seems as though many people trying to ride the wave as it relates to their personal pocketbooks or their small businesses. But big picture here, anybody thinking the worst, that they may have to shut down, they may not be able to outlive this?
Yeah, I mean, totally. Some of the folks I spoke with said, obviously they hope they don't have to, but they're going to have to see what happens. Like if prices continue to climb, they know that customers, aren't going to pay, an exorbitant fee for a kid's outfit or for a candle or what have you. And, I talked a little bit with the DC Chamber, and I actually did not know this, but small businesses make up 98% of the business in DC. Wow. It's a really vital part of the economy here. And so this could have really far-reaching consequences.
All right, Mimi, we'll keep a close eye. And to everybody's point, it's fast-paced and fast-moving here. So certainly keep our pulse on what is happening as it relates to tariffs. Thank you, Mimi.